Hello, welcome to the module 3 of our course. And now we are going to discuss about design. And here, the first class of this module, we're going to see the design foundations and how can we apply design into our process. So, uh, in this class, among the topics we're going to discuss, there is design beyond design. We're going to see what that means in a little. And also design thinking, human-centered design, user experience, and design research. So the first part of the class, I'm gonna introduce you to the concept of design thinking. But before jumping to that content, I want to start here showing you what is design. So what do you think it's design? Probably when you hear the word design, uh, it may it may remind you of drawing, logo design, graphical design, and like the image that you can see here in the screen. So drawing a project, and then designing a car, designing an object, typographic logo design such as Apple logo, FedEx logo, Nike, and others. And also design is a creative process, so that expands your creativity into design some beautiful and magical products. Although it's a very important part of design that we can see in our daily lives, there's a very important part also that we can't see, and it's the process of design. So we are not only discussing here design as a graphic design or a specific phase of a project or typographic work or logo design, but we will see how we can use the design process in our day-to-day. But before going further on this design process, I want to show a brief introduction of how the design was transformed from the art into products. So here we have the Bauhaus school, the German school of design. And the Bauhaus is very important for the design because it helped us to change the way we build products using design. So if in that time we had design as an art piece or a creative process, and the Bauhaus helped us to create a first process of design by merging or bringing together art, design, architecture, manufacturing, typographic, and graphic design. Different from the other schools from the 20th century that taught art and design separately. So the Bauhaus movement um, focused on turning objects from art and design into pieces that could be manufactured and could be massively replicated into our day. So we could transform design and art into products that we could use in our house, for instance. Also, a lot of the typographic or fonts that we see um, in different signs or logos comes from the Bauhaus school. So the focus on minimalism and good aesthetics were very important parts of design considering during the Bauhaus school. And transforming design into something useful, giving not only a form but a function to the design piece, was at heart of the design school or of the Bauhaus. Although in the Bauhaus there was a concerning about creating a design artwork that was very useful, it was more concerned on assembling or on the process of assembling it with mass production methods than a focus on the final user or the person who was going to use that product. So although the Bauhaus brought a shift in the way that we use design, we're gonna see here that we can use design in a different way, giving a focus to the person or to the user who will use our design or our artwork or our products that we are building. So going beyond the aesthetics of design, we have here the process of design. Also, we're gonna see design as a process, how designers use design to design new things. So uh, mainly it started with it starts with a question, so or a problem, and so it evolves to a research phase where we're gonna identify or to know better that problem. Then we're gonna design a solution or a blueprint for that problem or for that solution, and then we're gonna build that, and then we're gonna test with the user or with the person who is going to use it, and at the end we're gonna launch the product or the service that we are building. So it's a way to see design as a process, but it's not the only process. You're gonna see that we have very similarities between or among different process used by designers. So here we have a different process that we can use. uh, we start by empathizing, or what it means. It means that we gonna be near the user or closer to the user, in a way that we can identify the problem. So the same way we have the question, the previous method that I showed, we have here the phase of empathizing, and then we have the phase of definition, ideation, prototyping, and test. The same way the process goes. And now we have a different process here, but follows the same structure. So we're gonna discover, it's what we have in the first process, what is the question, and also in the second process, what is the empathize phase. So we're gonna start here by discovering or identifying the problem, then we're gonna understand better that problem, and then we're gonna design the solution for that problem, and then we're gonna test and prototype and then deliver at the end. So I'm gonna show more details about this process on the next slide. So here we have the design thinking as a process for creative problem solving. The same process that designers use when they are building solutions, we can use design thinking, the same approach to deal with problems and create better solutions. So design thinking here is a process that seeks to solve complex problems by approaching them from the user's perspective. So I will have a phase of empathizing where I will be closer to the user to identify its most crucial needs in terms of that situation that I'm trying to give a solution or to make people's life better, or these users' life better. So the design thinking process that we're gonna see here helps to transform ideas to prototypes as fast as possible, in a way that we can identify a problem and build a solution for that problem, and be or make sure that that solution fits or solves that problem. And so design thinking helps us to go through this process and have the solution at the end. But we have 5 stages here: the empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. So each of these phases will help us to see the problem in a different perspective or see the solution in a different perspective. On the empathize phase, we see that empathy is the foundation of human-centered design. We're gonna see human-centered design at the end of this class. But the problems you are trying to solve are really rarely your own problems. Maybe the problems you are working on, you don't have any idea how to solve them, or you're not 100% sure how that problems happens. That's why you have to be empathy with the person who is working with you, or the user that has that problem that you're gonna build a solution for. So build empathy is the most important part here when we are talking about design thinking. And then we go to definition phase, where you use some approach or methods to be closer to the user, to have empathy, to know what is user facing, what's the user problem or the person. I'm using user and person as the same here. So from time to time I will say user, or I will say person, or I will say a group of people, and then but I'm talking about the same entity here, the user that we need as designers to be closer to them, to understand their problems. So after the empathize phase, we're gonna to the define phase. We're gonna um, get a lot of insights that we got from the empathy. We identified the problem, we analyzed the problem that the user, we created a view based on the user's point of view. So the problem is different. We have the problem framed in our mind and also in our artifacts that we are building in this design thinking process. So in this phase of define, we'll clearly define the problem. So at the beginning, I wasn't sure or 100% sure about what is the problem that I'm working on, or how the solution would be better for that problem. But I'm not thinking in terms of proposing a solution without clearly understanding the problem. So these two first phase, empathy and define, are crucial to that, because I need to clearly understand the problem that I'm working on. Only after that I can propose new solutions. And the solutions proposed comes on the ideate phases, where you propose a series of design alternatives that can be used as solutions for that problem that you identify in the first two phases. So in this phase, you what we like to call that you go wide. So you experiment different solutions and you try different approaches, and suggest different alternatives for that. After that, we're gonna pick some solutions, or only one of that, to prototype, to build a low fidelity prototype or a high fidelity prototype that we can show that to the user, and then we're gonna see how the user will use that solution, or if that will helps him to solve his own problem or her own problem. And at the end, we have the testing phase, where we collect feedback from the user, refine solutions, and continue. But an important point here that I need to tell you is that although the image shows the process as a linear process, it's not a linear process. The same way we had the previous one here, a process that comes in discover and goes to understanding, and then we have a cycle here, and then evaluate and deliver. It's exactly what we have with design thinking. We never go straight from the beginning to the end. We try a solution, we prototype that solution, then we test that solution, then we get back here to ideate or to define the problem, because the problem wasn't 100% clear. So we need to define it, or to better understand the user and to better understand his or her problems. And another process that we have here, not different from the previous one. The previous one is the design thinking itself, as proposed by the D School from Stanford University. We have here a different method that we can use to frame or to picture this process used by designs. I use this process called Double Diamond, and it was proposed by the British Design Council. It's very easy to understand and also to apply them in our projects. So it consists of 4 different phases: discover, define, develop, and deliver. So in the discover phase, in the first diamond, it helps us to understand people, or to understand the problem that the people are facing, or the problem that the user is facing. And but here we're not gonna tackle the problem and propose solutions. We're gonna just to discover and to better understand the problem. And then the definition phase here, the second part of the first diamond, we gather insights the same way we have on the design thinking process. and it helps us to have a clear definition of the problem as well. Only after that we have in the middle the definition, that blue dot in the middle between the two diamonds, and there we gonna go to the phase of developing a solution or finding alternatives to that solution. And at the end we have the develop and deliver phase, where we're gonna prototype and refine and also test the solution that we are building. A better way to see this process is like that. The first part of the process, the double diamond process here, is what we called divergent thinking. So we're gonna diverge. So we start from the problem and then we start going wide, as we have on the design thinking process, and then we go through a phase of definition and bringing together all the possible insights that we got so far. So we have what we call convergent thinking, and then we repeat that on the next phase. The same for developer. We develop different alternatives and then we open the range of possibilities for solutions. And at the end we gonna bring together and build one single or two possible solutions to test and to refine. It's important also to mention here that although it seems to be a straightforward process, it's barely never so linear like that. So we need to start again and iterate, and iterate. Iteration is a very important word here because it happens all the time. And then we go to the end and we test, and then we need to come back here to the middle of our process and to identify new solutions or to better understand the problem again. And here, an easy way to picture this process is to understand the first diamond as designing the right thing. So we need to understand what we're gonna design, what we're gonna build, what the problem is. So here we make sure that we design the right thing. In the second phase, I like to call the diamond that where we're gonna design the thing right. So all the aspects of user interface or color palette choices or typographic choices in a design project, I will make sure they are great in this phase. So the first phase, I'm designing the right thing, and the second phase, I'm designing the thing right. Okay, great. Let's move on here then. So all this process, although they are different in the way, the terminology of them, we can divide them in three different phases. It's the way that IDEO, the design consulting firm, uses to divide their design thinking process. The first phase it's what they call immersion, where they're gonna dive deep into understanding the user's problems. The second phase is ideation, where designers are going to propose alternative solutions. And then at the end, they have the implementation phase, where they're gonna build prototypes and test these prototypes and make sure if that solution has the right fit for the problem that was identified at the beginning of the process. So again, it's not a linear process. At the IDEO, it's a continuum. So this process is always happening, and they have an approach also to create better or great products, where they find the intersection between among desirability, viability, and feasibility. So if something is among these three factors, it has probably great chance of becoming a great product. Okay, great. So when design thinking is applied to problem solving, we start embracing chaos, human centricity, and the abstract nature of complex problems. What I mean by that, we apply the design thinking process here. First of all, to make sure that it's people first. The first principle here that we have is that we're gonna put people first. We start an understanding of the people using a service, their needs, strength, aspirations, their problems, difficulties, and how they find easy or hard to use that. So after understanding the people's problems, then we go to solutions. But we need to make sure that we have visual and inclusive communications. It helps people who are working on the project to gain a shared understanding of the problem and the ideas that they are proposing. It helps the team communicate better. And also, we need to make sure that it's a process of collaboration and co-creation, working together to helps us to get inspired and by what others are doing and then propose also great solutions. And one thing that we never forget here is iteration. So we need to iterate, and iterate. So do this to spot errors or avoid risks, and also build confidence in your ideas and the solutions you are proposing. So it's part of the design thinking process to mix all together these different approaches that I've showed you here. And I've included here the double diamond, just a small icon here to help you understand that it also is applied into the double diamond process, and it's the way that I like also to use it. So here we are at the end of the first part of our class. On the next part, we're gonna discuss about user experience and design research. See you soon.